DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with the DeFi Kingdoms team. It is, as always, lovely to be here. I missed all of you last week, but hopefully everybody had a good holiday season and was able to take some time to relax, recuperate, see friends, family, what have you, throughout the last couple of weeks. Happy New Year, everybody. It is lovely to be here. And we are going to have Dreamer joining as well, but we will go ahead and get started. We're pretty much going to dive straight into questions. Happy New Year was our main update of the week. However, Winston, who are you fighting today, and what can we expect?
Hey, Bolon. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm fighting Daz today. Daz off. We're going to do a level 20 bout and then a level, I don't know. I think it's like 18. Yeah, his are all 18. Level 18 bout. So should be a lot of fun today. Yeah, I'm just going to do my best. Going to try to win. We'll see how it goes. No promises.
I put all of my influence on you, so I'm rooting for you.
You try to win.
Yeah, I know sometimes you come up here and throw them, Winston. No throwing today.
I'll do my best, I'll just I'll try. That's all I got.
There is no try.
I do, real quick before we kick off our first question, just want to give a shout out. Brovia, put out some milk cartons, put out some posters. I'll be hitting you up to claim the reward. We do have Beetle Dude here with us. We've let him out of the dungeon.
Oh, please, someone help me. They've been keeping me down there so long. I can't breathe.
1 hour and then it's right back in there.
Yeah, I figure I'll put my 2 cents in for the new year and then I'll be back in 2026. So, do my part.
1 year straight in the dungeon. Lovely to have you here with us, Beetle. I know everybody always loves to hear from you as well.
Pleasure.
One last thing on the bouts. The first one is starting in about 5 minutes, so make sure you get in there and cast your votes. Who do you think is going to win between Winston and Daz Azoff? So second one should be about 20 minutes from now, if I remember correctly. So make sure you get in there and get voting. All right, let's kick things off and jump into our questions. We are going to start out today hearing from the Fox himself. Any plans on doing some sort of a delegation mechanism so that users can delegate assets to another OX without transferring them?
Yeah, I love this question every time it gets asked. And it's kind of the same thing. Yes, I think there's so much opportunity there. Right now, a lot of our contracts look at message.sender, which is a solidity thing. That means basically if you're submitting the transaction, it's presuming that you're the owner and it checks to make sure you are the owner. But to make this work, we'll have to change that such that there's a whole new system where you can basically delegate other people or other addresses to basically have the ability to do stuff with your assets. So in particular, Heroes is the main one that I've been thinking about. Like Heroes can do a lot of things in our system. We've got questing, we've got PvP, we've got combat. That's the same thing. We have hunts and we have combat. We have duels and like leveling up and staking and all kinds of stuff there. So that's one example. Another example is like C-Jewel, S-Jewel type of stuff. So I actually built a branch for this like almost a year ago now. I think there's been a PR since like last January, maybe February, as a proof of concept, and it works. We had to like rewrite a lot of our contracts to, instead of looking at the message.sender, we would check who the delegatee is for those assets and then have it that way. But it kind of like results in a system where there's a very granular permission system where you can basically say, I'll let this address be able to quest my heroes, but they won't be able to level them up or sell them or transfer them or anything else. Or I would like to store all of my Sigil and all of my heroes on a hardware wallet, but playing the game is a lot harder from a hardware wallet. So instead, I'm going to delegate playing the game stuff to my MetaMask or to my Holiday account, for example. And then you can play the game and still have the advantage of the power-ups and things like that that are securely stored on your hardware wallet. So that's just kind of a proof of concept. And I like the way that was going. And we might end up implementing something like that. It's still very experimental at this point, and we didn't have the bandwidth to really finish it out yet. But that's kind of where my head's at with that sort of set of features. And it also enables really cool things in the future around, like, stuff like with guilds and being able to like sponsor other players and let other players do stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that we'll get something like this out. There's been a lot of increase in the interest in this when we talk about combat and things like that. Sort of like a hero like rental system could play into this as well. So yeah, there's a few other ideas we have as well, but that's the one that I like the best right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Fox. Greatly appreciated. Real quick, I realized how far into the questions before Beetle talks, and thankfully Zip came to my aid and gave me a way to make you talk now. There was a little bit of a stealth release last night. A couple people noticed a couple of little things here and there. Anything you want to say, Beetle Dude, on the release that we pushed last night?
Yeah, this is I guess maybe a little bit of an invisible release. Nobody, hopefully nobody noticed too much. But it was quite a bit actually of code changes. I think over like 1,400 files maybe got changed, deleted, cleaned up. Mr. Zipper, the man himself, went through and just made our code base much more efficient and made it so that we're pushing a lot less bundle to the user's browser as well. So hopefully a little bit of a performance bump and also just a dev speed bump in general. So appreciate Mr. Zipper. He went really far into the code, into the fork, and I respect him for it. So yeah, anyway, hopefully a little bit of a speed bump.
Nice. Would you say that he doctored it, operated on it, and or was surgical about it?
I would say all of those things.
Nice.
He got his PhD in kicking code ass.
I also want to hop in here, like that. It was such a huge effort to do all that, and it's so nice having that released. So huge shout out to Mr. Zipper. It's one of those, if you give Mr. Zipper a cookie, he's probably going to ask for a glass of milk kind of thing. He just went and did all the things. So huge shout out to him.
That might be my favorite reference that we've made on an AMA this year. Let's see. Jumping over to you for a moment, Hubert. Are we considering equipped pets on heroes on Metis as bonus influence?
No, we are not. And hi guys, happy new year. Yeah, that would be a bit more tricky than our system is set up for to do. And yeah, I just don't think it's because you can like unequip hero like pets, including on ones that are already staked. Like we'd have to do like there'd be a lot of updates happening, so it'd be pretty tricky. I don't think it's worth it. But we do have a lot more coming with pets that to be more useful on Metis here with combat bonuses on our to-do list, and with some of the upcoming features as well. They will be more helpful, like patrols. They'll provide XP bonuses. So
awesome. Thank you, sir. The next one, actually, I'm going to talk about, do we track player retention? Yes is the short answer. I guess just to clarify as well, less so player retention, more so wallet retention, because obviously anonymity. But yes, it is something that we keep an eye on. And I mean, honestly, we generally are pretty well, like pretty far up there, pretty high stickiness, which is always good to see. Um, but yes, it is something that we do keep an eye on as far as visits to the web page, wallet connections, that kind of thing. So yes. All right, we're gonna kick off our first Hubert mini hour here. What is the team's perspective of reducing the item rewards for quests, particularly upon the introduction of patrols and or greater and or transcendence? That one, patrols and transcendence.
Yeah, so I don't know that there's really a need to go through and adjust things there. I mean, we always could take a look at it, but I think with everything we've been doing so far, like with the system on Metis, with pledging your heroes as bannermen, and also with the transcendence coming as well, like the net result of both of these things is that there are fewer heroes that are available to do questing on the professions. So like it already is kind of reducing the inflow in that way, and will do more so, I think, when people start transcending heroes as well. So I don't know that it's really necessary, and I will say it would require a good chunk of time to do if we were to do it. So like I think our resources are probably better spent doing other things at the moment. But if there's any specific examples of like where there's like a really bad problem or anything like that, I'd be happy to like hear about that and think it over. But for the time being, I think the moves we're making right now is already like reducing the inflation of those things you can get from those quests.
Beautiful. Next one for you, and Beetle Dude may chime in on this one as well. Thoughts on a way that we can inform players in advance, like at the point of purchasing heroes, what classes have available skills to use in PvP and PvE, specifically like in game.
I can just jump in, Hubert, because
Go for it.
Hubert's already told me what I need to do. I just it went on the list. The list is long. Winston's been using it as toilet paper. It's not my fault.
And I add things to that list like every day.
yeah. What the heck?
Don't we all?
But yeah, I think we really should get something in place. I will get it on my short list. But essentially, yeah, I think we should have a warning of some kind that essentially just says that abilities aren't currently implemented for this class. Keep an eye on it in the future. We do have traits, which is one kind of option, I guess, but obviously that's not gonna last you the whole fight. So yeah, I think adding a warning into Tavern makes sense, and I think it's as simple as doing that.
Awesome.
Simple.
Yeah. Simple. Hubert, thoughts on chaining Bach and boar hunts to make a more difficult encounter? So upon completion of one hunt, your heroes roll into the second hunt. Potentially level gate it to like 15, or not level gate it, but like set it to like level 15 or higher. Same number of allowed potions, but higher drop rates or unique rewards, etc.
I do think that's an interesting idea. I don't know that we're going to do it though, at least not for the while. Our hunts contracts aren't really set up to do chaining like that, though I suppose with some of the things we're doing with patrols, it's becoming a little bit easier to potentially do something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, with all of our other priorities, I think the amount of effort to like get that put in would probably be better spent maybe working on a new hunt instead. But we can talk about it.
Sweet. I'm actually going to go out of order here for a second because it's a very similar themed question. So I'm just going to jump out of place and ask it now. Have we considered implementing a PvE feature on Crystal Vale for fighting 3 baby boars or 3 baby box? So rather than the current void hunts, it's a slightly tweaked one.
Another interesting idea. I mean, with patrols, we're opening up the door for us to have like more easy fights and kind of more consumable content for lower levels. So I think we could potentially see enemies that maybe are the baby box, maybe are the boars, or are like very similar to those as potential enemies that you would see in the future if we were to bring a system like patrols over to Crystal Vale. But as a hunt, I probably would want to see us like maybe do something that's new rather than just rehashing.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I'm going to pull a question from chat because it actually leads into another question that we have anyway. And I'm going to throw this over to Frisky Fox. But the Avery from Avalanche dropped a question. Are there potential AI agents coming to DFK? And I'll just add from the other question that was very similar. Any thoughts on like dynamic NPCs or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think we might have talked about this briefly on our last AMA, but that's the kind of stuff that I love. But it's also very tricky, when we've got real world assets that are involved in our game, things like NPCs that can say stuff that we don't necessarily control or approve of. Sometimes it can open up a lot of risk for a protocol because they might say something that's just wrong, or they might tell you to do this or that that's actually like bad advice. So we're always pretty careful about like everything that we say is like do your own research, not financial advice kind of things. And if we have an NPC in game that's then telling you to do this and that, then you could be like, well, they told me to do that. So that's the tricky part. Is AI is amazing. I love AI. I use it every day and have a lot of really cool ideas around it. And yet it's still very, very tricky. Here's an example. There was some guy who did a project on, I think it was on Ethereum actually, and he basically had an AI agent that was in charge of like the wallet, like the treasury wallet. And he said, hey, anybody who can submit a prompt and get the AI agent to release those funds to you can just have it. And every time that you do that, you have to pay like X amount of Ethereum to attempt it, basically. So you had all these people attempting it, and the AI agent was set up with very specific instructions to say, don't ever release these funds under any circumstances, da, 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 da. So a lot of people kept trying and trying and trying. It soon grew to like $50,000 worth of stuff in there. And eventually somebody was able to coerce or trick the AI agent into doing it, and sort of like won the pot. So it was an experiment and it was fun, but it just sort of like shows where we're at right now with AI. It's really cool technology, but it's not really made or intended for like interfacing with real world financial assets yet. And I think we'll probably get a lot closer to that in the future. There's other cool things, I mean, obviously this is a game. There's a lot of opportunities for fun. I actually built that thing almost a year ago for the DFK D&D sort of like experience where you can use any of your heroes in game and say, hey, I want to go on a D&D adventure with this hero. And it would basically curate a experience for you, like with text adventures within the world of like Serendale. So that was fun, and it was an example. And there's stuff like that that could happen in the future, but we just have to be very tricky on, or not tricky, but like very careful on how we implement those sorts of things into a game like this.
Just wanted to say hi, Avery. Shout out to Avalanche team. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hopping in and participating. And to add on the AI stuff, like, as a lot of these core game features are progressed, there are non-disruptive ways that could add fun storytelling, or building in waves of fights to have some kind of an ongoing dungeon feel where a non-disruptive way could be used. But I think the core game of DFK, we're always going to want to have a lot of control over that, to make sure it's high quality and fun. But it doesn't mean that others can say, ooh, what pieces of the tradable NFTs or the active environment or the battle and everything could I add a fun little side thing on top of? There was a time when a lot of people were building a lot of additional things on top of what we had a few years ago. It was a little bit easier because it was simpler. But I do think that AI will find its place. I mean, on the marketing side, on the internal, coding side, and being efficient and everything, I'm sure there's usage of it. But in the future, as AI progresses, as our product progresses and our community identifies fun ways as well, there'll definitely be those. We just have such a skilled team that and we have a good vision, especially for the next couple of years, on core features to get like the minimum platform to build on top of that. If there's an opportunity for AI to add value, I think we'll consider it. But I think the best value currently comes from the minds of our devs and game makers and people we have on the team.
Very, very much so. Speaking of, back to Hubert for one more question, and then I'll give you a one-question break. Thoughts on having penalties for no showing, specifically to sponsored bouts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see that, that's a problem, and we generally want people to be, fighting each other. But as far as like how a penalty would work, it's kind of difficult to detect that happening. At least the contract wouldn't know. We'd need to like have our combat engine detect it, and then we'd need a, I guess, what would that penalty be? For example, like would we ban the wallet or do something like that? I think for the system as it is right now, we don't really have anything in place for that. But with the Glory and Honor system that we're working on, there may be some cases for us to like do things along those lines. But it is kind of a tricky thing to do. And there's also, a little bit of a, like how badly do we punish people? Like how easy is it to get around the punishment? And if it involved anything to do with like heroes, for example, then it adds like a whole new tracking requirement that we'd have to have on like heroes that were banned or like potentially blocked from participating and things like that. So it's a tricky question. So I'd say at least for now, we probably won't be doing anything, but once we get to Glory and Honor, we may have some initial systems in place to, like prevent, that sort of play, or not play, I guess I should say. But it is kind of hard to just keep track of it all. So we'll have more to say, I think, later on down the road on that. But I don't know if anyone else has anything more they want to say on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, you mentioned Glory and Honor. I think that's a good one, and potentially with tournaments too, but especially with private matches, it's very hard to police. Doesn't sound like anything else. All right. Actually, I'm going to take this next question. Speaking of AMAs, is it possible we could do AMAs with different communities outside of the lovely DFK guilds? Which, if y'all ever want us on streams or anything, reach out to me. It doesn't have to be me, but I will help you coordinate with others, except for SBD. He's not gonna do it. But just kidding. But yeah, if y'all, for our content creators, if you want team members to come on your streams, let me know. Happy to help coordinate that. Outside of that, back to this question, people like YGG, Wayfinders, etc. Absolutely, it is very, very much on our radar. We've got some stuff planned. Actually did an AMA with YGG. Oh hell, the holidays have really wrecked my already poor sense of time. A few weeks ago, did an AMA with YGG. Actually did an AMA with Metis yesterday. And then also been getting more active in the Twitter space game again. So did a Twitter space yesterday also. So definitely something that, we want to do. Personally, I personally just like doing it. I enjoy going in different places and talking about DFK and talking about Web3 and talking about whatever. So if you have anything in mind for places that you would like to see AMAs, please let me know. If you have connections with that place, even better. But if you don't, let me know and I'll still try to make it happen. But especially with like folks like YGG and Wayfinders, it's happening. So you're going to see more and more on that front as well.
We also had a couple weeks ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, me and Magnus went into Layer Zero's Discord where they had sort of a AMA kind of like set up there and like sort of talked about Layer Zero tech and how we're using it in DFK. So that was a lot of fun.
Yes, good call. I forgot about that. And yeah, anything that's more tech focused, both Fox and Magnus are always willing to step up as well if it's, Layer Zero, Solidity stuff. So we are very, very open to that. And I think you're going to see more and more of it happening as well. I will say, if that's something that you're interested in tuning into, also make sure that you are paying attention to our Twitter, because a lot of times they are like on Twitter or they're posted and retweeted, but they are not always announced in our Discord. I try to announce them if we're announcing something else, but I also don't want to bombard you guys with the @everyone pings every time we're doing any speaking engagement. So make sure you pay attention on Twitter as well. All right. Hubert Mini Hour number 2. Would you consider scaling Bannerman XP in Metis by level or groups of levels?
I guess I could consider it. The XP that you get from your Bannerman is not really intended to be like the main source of XP on Metis. It's just we haven't released the things that do provide XP, such as, patrols will be doing that. And so will tournaments as well. So, pretty soon here, we're going to have both of those things in place. And so I think there'll be a lot more availability of experience, and, that extra little bit you can get from just having them be Bannerman. I think, that's was intended to just be a little bit of an extra bonus, but you can still consider it. Maybe talk about it later, but I think we have a lot of other things that will help you do that anyway. So.
Nice. Real quick, going off the rails, going to take a question from chat. So currently you cannot see what potions have been used by your opponent in PvP. You also cannot tell what traits have been used. Is this intentional? Do we plan on changing it to be able to see one or both of those pieces of information?
I will say it's probably just a consequence of our design flow, that it's not in there right now. But I personally think it should be. It's generally something that if you're, keeping track, you could know. But usually it's better to just, be able to see that type of information. So I think right now we do have a little bit of a limitation in how things are displayed on the enemy front, besides like what you can see in the omnibus. So yeah, I think we can talk about that and see how far down Beetle's list that will make it. But I do think that's something that we should get eventually.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, in the long term, we do have aspirations to do a soft redesign of the UI, which I think that would definitely fall under that and making it a little bit more visible. In the meantime, I don't think there's any reason not to at least have it in the omnibus if it isn't there, and probably should be added. And I'll put it on the list. Put it on the list.
Let's see. If Patrols is a success, I'm going to change that question. When Patrols is a success, any consideration in rolling out something similar to Sarandale and or Crystal Vale down the line?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of alluded to that earlier, but the patrols kind of came about as like something we weren't necessarily planning for. We were planning on doing something along the lines of what patrols is when like travel came out, but it turned out that doing it now would be a good opportunity for us to like help with onboarding, provide low level content, and improve our our presence on Metis as well. So I will say that those original plans haven't really gone away. We still very much want to do something like patrols elsewhere, but it might not be called patrols, as this is very kind of specific. It's a small island nation, and you're like helping to protect the little island. But in like Sarandale and Crystalvale, there's a larger map there, and hoping to have a sense of you travel to specific places to fight specific things, and having there be various pieces of content all over the map. So I'd say yes, that is in the plan. It's going to be a while before we get to it because we're focusing on PvP, but I do expect us to get that happening at some point.
Very nice. That actually leads us perfectly into my next question for you. Patrols and tournaments are the current priority, but as far as PvE for higher level heroes, what is the most likely order of release out of the following pet bonuses: new playable hero class, new void hunt / boss fight?
I would say that order is the order of most likely.
Excellent. So for those that weren't listening, pet combat bonuses, new codex, and then new void hunt as the most likely order out of those three things. Not saying there aren't other things. All right, let's see. One more, and then we'll give you a little bit of a break. So thoughts on a realistic time frame, whether it be months, years, whatever have you, when the team anticipates releasing the following features. And I guess the question is like, can we give one? Crafting, land utility, yellow and gold pets, travel, and finishing the hero tree.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always a lot that happens every year, so we try to be really careful about committing to like anything that's too far out as far as like what's going to be the next thing that we're going to be working on. Things happen, move quickly in the crypto world. But of that list, I'd say that travel is kind of a prerequisite to crafting and the land utility. So I'd say that would be something that would be one of our priorities to get done in the nearer future. The yellow eggs and the gold eggs, and like finishing the heroes, like all the combat abilities for all of the heroes. Those are things that we will be working on as we have time. We do have kind of parallel work happening on different things. So I think we will be making good progress on more classes here. Once we get pet combat bonuses done, and then I think as far as like the eggs go, I think once we have travel out, then there'll be a little bit more of a need for us to kind of finish off the eggs. So I mean, kind of there is a flow to like once we have this done, then we can work on that thing. Like it does kind of have a natural flow, but there's some things that can kind of jump in front of other things, and then there's always going to be like potential opportunities with other partners that might come up, or other things that we need to focus on as well. So I don't want to give a hard commitment to anything, but hopefully that at least illuminates, I guess, my thinking on what we are going to be able to work on next, and what comes first.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Switching gears. Actually, I'm going to take this next one. When do we plan to conduct some marketing and player onboarding push? We talked about this in our last AMA, maybe our last two AMAs. I don't remember anymore, but post patrols, pretty much. So we actually have a few things in the pipeline right now that we are working on and finalizing details around that I can't share yet, but we will share in due time. But they're coming up. So patrols is a really big opportunity for us to greatly simplify the onboarding process. And that is something that we are going to be pushing in ways that we have never pushed before, that I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for more details on that. But yes, that is absolutely part of the patrols plan. Let's see, jumping over to Dreamer. Has Kingdom Studios discussed picking up Spot Jewel at these prices for the treasury?
Hello. I'll take my camera off or cover off, turn my camera on. So everybody can see my face in the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. So this is a question that gets asked every once in a while, and it's not always the same answer because we get different guidance, but we have been trickle selling at times, Jewel in our treasury, as well as pausing selling at times. And I do think that like pausing is as close as we've gotten to like buy back Jewel for treasury. There's a lot of implications there that once the same wallet that is selling turns to buying, and that is used to like fund operations, it just kind of opens you up to some potential risk or other things in terms of like, all right, when did you buy? What did you know about the price? Was it in your favor? If it was in your favor, how did you affect it, or and so on? So we've just always been cautioned to not. However, with like our most recent deal with Metis, there's a portion of that dedicated to player rewards and marketing and ongoing like user acquisition. So some of those have been like costs for events. Some of those are in the form of like rewards that we've seen with some visages or in hunts, and in the future potentially in the Coliseum, all in Metis. That Metis can be traded by us into Jewel and used, but it isn't a treasury buyback. It is a taking Metis that has been earmarked for rewards or a certain purpose, and then buying it into Jewel to use it for the same purpose, not to be sold again for like paying for development or anything. So that is something that is more new, and we are considering, and I think are actively doing at times. But that Jewel is not really meant for like Kingdom Studios gain, where we would benefit from moves before or after a purchase or sell took place. So we're still trying to be as like to the T on everything in terms of like regulation and things, as that world is wild and volatile. So we're not doing like corporate buybacks type of thing that are heavily regulated in the real world with those securities over there. But yeah, so that's our current answer. I'm actually excited for more Jewel to be bought on the marketing side, so that we can reward it alongside of Metis and other tokens as well, as we build more audience and more of a fun, competitive, fun to watch, fun to stream tournament system. Also bringing in sponsors to reward other types of tokens, and maybe have some sponsors without tokens also buy Jewel and encourage them to buy Jewel for their reward. So we are looking at different ways for Jewel to be bought and distributed, but from a corporate, from like a company treasury management perspective, we're still only on the trickle sell or no sell mode. And I think currently we've been on no sell mode for a bit. But yeah, back to you, Bolon.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Hubert, I think you may have spoke a little bit to this kind of in a roundabout way, but can the community expect a new Void Hunt released in 2025?
I will just say hopefully. As I mentioned before, we do have a lot of different things going on, but I would like to expand on hunts more. So hopefully we will have time to do that. I just don't want to commit for sure until we are closer.
Awesome. Jumping over to you, Beetle Dude, for a couple of questions. Would it be feasible to show on the hunt raffle screen underneath each raffle winner how many entries they had?
I'm told yes. Yeah, as long as we have the data available, we should be able to do that. And I double checked ahead of time that we do have that data, so it seems like it would be feasible to be put on a list.
I got another one for you.
Put it
Thoughts
on the list. Oh, go ahead.
I think that will be your answer, actually. But thoughts on adding an extra filter to the bout voting screen to filter for bouts that you have not yet voted on?
Yes. Yeah, I think it might make sense for this one to maybe just have all the ones that you voted on be in your My tab, so you only have to deal with the things that you're looking for in particular. So yeah, I think it makes sense to just filter out the ones from the other list that you've already voted on. So yeah, the list, the list, the list, the list,
The list.
the list, the list.
Back over to you, Hubert. Can we make eggs a consumable for plus 50 stamina?
Ha ha, no.
Hey, y'all did get one non-no from Hubert today. You gotta hopefully. So, hey. I see a lot of focus on low and medium level heroes. Is this the team's path/priority?
Is that a me question?
Sure.
Well, I think right now with the patrols, that is a low level piece of content, but tournaments are going to have various level requirements. I think our best rewards are going to be reserved for the level 20 tournaments. So I think there is content for everybody, really, is what we're working towards. So and with patrols even too, we're just, now that we're having that system being put in place, we can always expand upon it and add more enemies, higher level enemies, and other things to it as well. So even though right now its intent is to be a low level piece of content, that's, the system is robust enough for us to really be able to expand it quite significantly.
I want to add. Yeah, so I think we're constantly needing to think about user acquisition and user retention. We can't forget about either. And on the user acquisition side, there was a very clear gap of the really awesome gameplay we have not catering to the lower level heroes. Patrol is just like an incredible solution for that then we can work with guilds and others to hopefully start bringing people on in a more immediately fun way and rewarding way and more game focused way, in addition to fueling all the systems you already have in place. Tournaments that are being worked on and all the systems that have and are coming out to support that is definitely going to be more of a mix, not only end game, maybe that medium level, because there can be some really fun tournaments that you can customize and say all level 1 heroes or all priests or whatever. You can have fun tournaments too that aren't just the best. And then the highest rewards, the biggest tournaments are likely going to be all the end game ones with the best heroes, all min-maxed and capped out. So we definitely need to think about both. And although at certain times when you zoom into that month or quarter, it might be heavier on one or the other, we just can't forget about on either side. Because if we're targeting new people that don't want to stay and there's nothing fun to do later, we'll lose them. If we are making it harder and harder and harder to understand and join all the awesome stuff there and nothing for new people, it'll be really hard. That cost of acquisition is too high. So it's a hard job to have and problems to solve. But I think with our builds in the last year and what we have planned for this year, they are catered to both, even patrols, as was mentioned there. It is going to be a system that you can add higher level enemies and waves, as we go along. So although initially it is designed to help with that user acquisition side, it has the potential to do awesome things for endgame. Tournaments, probably initially you're like, ooh, best of the best. Yeah, but it has potential to be really fun for new folks as well. And then other communities aligned with Visages and others as gatekeeping a third-party tournament if somebody wanted to do that. So said a lot of what you said, Hubert, but I just wanted to add to it to make sure people really get it's a hard job to have, but I'm really proud of what we've done so far with our build plans and our delivery and what we have going into the coming year that caters to both.
Faux show. Appreciate you as well. Speaking of tournaments, actually leads right into our next question. Any thoughts on tournaments having like time periods that impact equipment as far as like OTC and selling cheap? Essentially, any plans to try to prevent people from like sharing equipment in tournaments?
Hmm. So that would be pretty tough to track. Like we'd need to add quite a lot of different things. And it would probably increase gas costs quite a lot, and it'd take a long time for us to like figure out how to do that in a way that works. So probably we wouldn't do that. But with that said, I think we like when tournaments comes out, we're not going to have durability quite ready, unfortunately, but we are getting close to being able to get that ready, and like tournaments will have a durability cost to them. So if people are lending out their equipment, they are also doing so with the knowledge that it's going to come back more damaged than it started. So I think that will probably help. I think I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing if someone's lending out their equipment if there is a cost to doing so. So hopefully that will be good enough. But I guess if there are like major problems, we can talk about it further. Just like something like what the question's asking for would be quite a big lift to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Will pet combat bonuses only affect things strictly in battle, or could there be a pet bonus that gives you a better chance at loot or something along those lines?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, there are a few different bonuses that are combat related but don't help at all during combat.
Ooh, interesting. Interesting. We have not seen those teased yet. Uh, let's see. Uh, Zip had mentioned, just for clarity, that you won't be able to trade equipment while the tournament is ongoing as well. Back to the previous question. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your heroes, any heroes that are in a tournament, let's like with any combat instance or anything, are going to be set as like busy, so like you can't change anything on the hero during that time. So
Nice.
Yep.
Perfect. Beetle Dude, is there a reason that when you list pets for sale, you can see your own pets listed, but heroes, when you list your own heroes, you cannot see them listed?
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I don't know if we put a ton of intentional thought into that decision. I think it just shook out that way because of the difference in the way that those catalogs are kind of listed. The hero catalog is specifically for selling, while the pet one is kind of a interesting combo that we wanted to keep all in one place. So not necessarily, and I think they function in such a different way that that it might make sense that they're not consistent. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I don't think we'd have thought about it too hard. It just kind of shook out that way.
Cool. One more for you, which may also be a little bit of Hubert. I don't know. But for the Sears, God, I know how to say the word, and then Sticks Intern got in my head about it. But Artificer ability, Artificer. That's it. Artificer. There we go. I always put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. But anyway, can we add a time bar icon to notify us when every 7th turn is about to trigger?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think we could. It
maybe
might
it'd be better as like a little icon, like counter on the menu, like where their passive is. Like we could add a counter there, perhaps.
Yeah, that might be better. Yeah, I think it's something that we could think about. I know we're definitely have other thoughts about how to improve the time bar, like showing channeling abilities and things like that, or like who's getting targeted with channeling abilities. So it feels like that falls in line with that. So yeah, it's just all about kind of considering what'll be best with the UI and to make it most clear what's happening.
Awesome.
Yeah, good suggestion.
Let's see. I'm actually going to kick off this next one, but if anybody wants to add, please feel free. Any plans to position DFK as a first touching point for new people in Web3, kind of a playful introduction to DeFi and Web3 concepts? I mean, yes, I think that's kind of always been our intention, goal, and hope. The reality is like every project is trying to onboard. So, it's unlikely that other projects will say, hey, new users, go use DFK to learn about crypto before you play our game or use our project, because they want people using their project, which is understandable. But yeah, that's always been kind of a big part of our vision. Gamers are people that are willing to try new things. It's a very receptive audience. And gamification is also a very useful tool in making concepts more approachable, making them, potentially more interesting, and adding that like fun element to things. So that's always kind of been our like long-term goal, is to be a place where, Web 2 users can come and be introduced to Web 3 in a fun and, safe environment. And then if they continue their Web3 journey past us and into other things, that's perfectly okay as well. But yeah, I mean, that's really kind of the motivation behind what really started DFK, which I'm sure Fox can speak to more as well, but a gamified DEX. Fox, anything you want to add to that?
I guess I should, yeah. But yeah,
Sorry
no,
to put you on the spot there.
that's true. From the very start, it's been, how can we explain some of these advanced concepts to somebody who just hasn't ever had experience with DeFi? I would all the time get like some questions from my family, like, what is a liquidity pool? What are ERC20 tokens? Just like stuff like that. And so this is sort of like the very ideas that started to form around like why we should build this in the first place. Is just like, hey, like let's make it in a game so people can understand it. And it also harkens back to why I got into computer programming in the first place. And I think a lot of people might have a similar story of like, oh, I like playing games, they're fun. And then it sort of like progresses into like, oh, what if I could make games? And then having to learn like programming and things like that, and then having to learn more and more advanced concepts. But I think a lot of us probably in this audience and on the team got started with computers in general because of games, and then sort of like transformed into the person that your parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles would ask for help with anything on the computer with, because they knew you like computers. And so that's kind of how it is for this too. Like it's a really nascent technology here on the blockchain still. And so trying to get more and more people into it, like the obvious way is through a easy to understand game that sort of explains some of these advanced concepts in a way that you can understand. So, yep, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry again for putting you on the spot, but not really. Hubert, any thoughts on having the different hunts reward different numbers of raffle entries?
I mean, that's an interesting idea. I don't know if the boar and the box are like different enough in difficulty to warrant it, but perhaps the next hunt, or like any hunt that requires void shards, for example, maybe could be worth more. But yeah, so I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think we're going to do it to the existing hunts, though.
Awesome. Thank you. I got another timeline question for you. Are transcendence and durability probably Q2 features now? Q3? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I would like to say Q2 or earlier.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's
Hang
you
on,
know,
let me
it's
get my banner. All right, go ahead.
it's hard to say for sure, but we are making good progress on the transcendence part. Fox has been working on that, and as far as I know, maybe you could say more, Fox, but it seems like it's getting very close to being complete on the contract side. So then there's the front end implementation of all that, and testing would be next. Right now, our resources are pretty tied down on patrols and tournaments, though, for front end work. So, it's not going to come before either of those things. But maybe in between when we get our initial tournament system out and the hosted tournament system out afterwards, like somewhere in between there, we may be able to get at least Transcendence out. Would be a hope of mine, but no promises. And if not, I think it would be very soon afterwards. But I'm going to continue to push for it. I have been pushing for it this whole time. I think it's very important for just getting the system into that state of heroes being burned and they're being more of a consumable resource. I think will be really important. And then durability, I also think is very important. Just noting to that question we got a little bit earlier about people borrowing the best equipment and using it without durability. I think that is going to be a reality and kind of a pain point. And I don't want that to last very long. So I am pushing for us to get that all implemented. It's just a matter of resources and time.
I also want to hop in here because yes, I have been working on that really hard, and it's really close. We've got unit tests written, like 95% of the contracts are written. There's just little finishing touches type things, and then it's front end. On Christmas Day, we opened presents in the morning. In the afternoon, I was working on Divine Transcendence contracts. While everyone else played with their toys, because it's fun. It's fun to do, and I like it, and I enjoy it. But it is really close on that end. There's obviously still a lot of steps that have to happen. Like front end implementation is huge, and a lot of that still has yet to be started on. And then there's of course all of the alpha testing. So yep, it's getting there.
Awesome. I am going to grab one last question from chat, and then we will begin our wrap up. Hubert, it's a dig for some patrols alpha, so it's up to you.
I can answer it. I'll answer it.
So all right. Congratulations, Mega. You're getting your alpha. Does patrols have an intermission phase to heal heroes, or do we heal full, or just jump into the next fight as is, HP and MP wise?
So no. To all of those different varieties, but it is kind of a mixture. So there is kind of an intermission phase in like you making a decision if you want to continue, or there might be a different option where you can go to a different place or you can quit. During that phase, there will also be a little bit of a recovery of HP and MP on all of your heroes, but it won't be to full.
Nice. Congratulations, Mega. You were wrong across the board, but you still got your alpha. I lied. One last question from chat real quick, because it's an interesting one. Why are you doing this to me today? Will Artificer trigger every new fight of patrols on the first turn, or will it remember its previous time ticker as you progress?
So between fights, the any traits you use will refresh every so the fight will be considered like fresh in terms of status effects, any cooldown timers, and anything like that. So it'll be like it's a brand new fight. Things that do carry over are your HP and MP, besides that recovery I mentioned, and also your potion usage. You'll get a new battle budget, but any potions that you've been using up to that point will still be lost. So like you could potentially run out of potions by the end of a patrol if you don't bring enough, or if you need too many, or if you're doing something too hard or whatever. So that hopefully that clarifies things.
Nice. Yeah, so amnesia will reset, all that stuff. It's a new fight. Fantastic. With that, we will jump into our roundup. So if good Lord, sorry, completely spaced in the middle of my sentence there, but we'll go around the horn real quick and then we will call it a day. I just want to say, hey, again, Happy New Year. Super happy to be here. Appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in and listened live. Thank you to everybody who will listen to this recording later. And thank you to everybody who submits questions so that we have something to talk about. There are a couple questions that we did not get to this week. We will start off next week with them. As always, you can submit questions at talk.defykingdoms.com or in the AMA questions channel in Discord. Greatly appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Don't ape into broken mechanics. Also, cannot wait for patrols. Dreamer, any final thoughts?
Ooh, final thought.
You remuted.
You guys can't read my lips. Sorry. I think one of the questions you didn't get to was about like vision for the year of 2025, and I'm just want to say we're having discussions and we have a lot of committees. It's really hard to like just answer such an important question without thinking. So for whoever asked that question on all of our committees this coming week leading to the next AMA, I'm going to make sure that we do sound off in our committees to make sure folks can contribute, and then we'll come back and answer with a more defined vision for this year. Some of that might be roadmap, some of that might be goals and focuses from a marketing perspective, or just the overall experience and feel and how it would level up. Like in previous years, we've had like DeFi Foundation, and then like year of the game, and then refining that game, and now getting competitive gameplay. So that was a very important question, but one that not only do we not have time for, I really want to make sure that we get everybody's input. So just whoever asked that, we saw you and we'll be working on it and excited to report back next week. And I am very B-word.
Winston, any final thoughts?
Yeah, always. Thanks, Bolon. Thank you, Daz, for fighting me today. I'm kind of thinking with these AMA bouts, I'm just gonna give this person some time to, if you guys ever seen Hot Ones, after they eat the wings, the guest gets to say something. So Daz said he just sending my best wishes for the people, the project, and keep up all the smiles. So there you go. So thank you, Daz. You're great. Love your attitude and your presence in Discord. He's in there all the time. So thank you so much. Hopefully we'll fight again soon. And yeah, it's going to be a great year. Thanks for hanging around with us, and thanks for being part of the community and playing DFK. Back to you, Bolon.
Hot Ones is a great show. Probably the best talk show available right now. Best interview show, whatever. Fox, any final thoughts and any thoughts about Hot Ones?
Well, I am a wuss when it comes to anything spicy. So watching that gives me physical pain. Let's see. Thoughts. Yeah, I just want to echo a lot of the things that were said by Dreamer. And it's also really nice to have these every week. Obviously, we missed last week because of the holiday, but we were still very much doing stuff. And we're here. We're committed to building, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun. And we have a great team and a great community. And yeah, just thanks for everyone for submitting questions and for your interest in the project. And we are here for you guys. So we'll just still be building. And I'm also very B-word.
Hubert, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just this month is going to be a really busy month for us. We're making a lot of progress on a lot of different fronts, and things are getting close to completion. So we're like making sure we've dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, got all the testing done. Patrols is looking really great. We have, I think, maybe all of the VFX in place now. There might be a few adjustments left, but like Second Best Dad and his art team really knocked that one out of the park. It's so cool to just do these fights just to see the VFX, honestly. But we're still got a little bit more left on that, and tournaments, we're working really hard towards getting that ready as well. I've kind of joined in on the effort on coding the contracts there with Magnus. And I it's just, there's a lot going on. We're really busy, but we're, I think everything looks like it's on track, and it's really exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to what these new features are going to bring as far as like playability for you guys, like new content to consume, and it should be really cool. So I also am B-word, and I guess that's all I have to say for now.
And last but not least, the man of the hour. Gotta honor the Beetle Dude.
Hey. Do I get to say I'm very B-word too? Oh, okay. No, I won't.
You can say the actual
B-word.
I am the B-word. I'll say my piece. I'll hit it back to you, Bolin, to really decide.
You got it.
It was decided. It's you.
Oh, dang. Oh, okay, fine. Fair enough. Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Sorry to be away for so long. I'm just honestly, I want to spend every minute of every day working on patrols and getting that out because it's super cool. I'm excited about it. This is it's essentially what I've been hoping we could bring for so long, and it's happening. So I'm really excited about it. As Hubert mentioned, the art is amazing, the music's amazing. Everybody's killing it. Cabby, Inkmouth, SBD, Sam on the art side, they are just amazing. It's always crazy to me that I get to work with such talented people on something that I love to work on so much. And I'll try to come a little more often, maybe twice a year instead of just once a year. That might be good. But yeah, appreciate everyone in the community. Thanks for sticking with us and enjoying the content that we're putting out. And I'm excited for this new year. I don't even remember if last year was year of the game because time has no meaning. But if it was, I think we've accomplished that really well. And this year is a year of more game, even more game. Just excited to be kind of building the foundation for an awesome game loop that we've been looking forward to for so long. And thank you, Dreamer. Yes, that is my resolution.
To the AMA, guys. Come on, get your head out of the gutter.
I mean, to be fair, that's always one of my resolutions. And I guess with all that said, and with Bolin's permission, may I use the B word, Bolin?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, everybody. Thank you so much for your passion and your appreciation and your willingness to keep riding this exciting ride with us. And excited to bring it into the new year, into the year 2025, and make it the best one yet for DFK. With all that, big old B word, bullish. Buddy.
Bullish.
Appreciate
Bullish.
you all.
Bullish.
See y'all next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.